Hey 678, it's Robbie. Whether you are joining us here in person or online, we're so glad that you were able to make it. A couple announcements. May 16th, we have this amazing event called Engage. It's going to be high school and middle school event. There's going to be games, there's going to be worship, there's going to be prizes. You don't want to miss out on this. We really want you to come and check it out. It's going to be a great time. Another announcement is that we have Stretch June 22nd through June 24th. If you're interested, if you want to invite a friend, you can go ahead and sign up at ccvlive.com/stretch. Pete will be out in just a second.
Take notes. Okay, leaders are note takers. They take in, they think about it, but also you take it home with you. I remember an alumni, she graduated last year. She showed me a picture of one of her first days at college, and she had like pictures of family, her dog that she couldn't go home and see all the time, but then she had like a couple of very special HSM notes that she took on very special nights, and that like warmed my heart. So if you ever hear anything that just speaks to you, please write it down so you can have it on you. Are you ready? Jumping into the message? I need you to tell me, and because it's just such a packed house, you actually can tell me who in your life, family, friends, coworkers, who are you most similar to? Who would you say that you're most similar to? Please don't say a pet or some random animal, an actual physical human being. Rachel, you made a physical gesture. Do you know somebody that you're similar to? Your dad, Mike Huss, okay. AD? Mr. G, your dad, I can attest to that, yes. Claire, who would you say you're most similar to? Your dad? Okay. Sam? Yeah. Which is my other point. So some of you may be very, very like your mom, like your dad. Some of you may be more like your siblings. Some of you may just be more like the friends that you hang around, right? Your close circle. Some of you are like, I'm the odd one in my family. I don't know where I came from. I'm like none of them at all. I specifically have some attributes of my dad, some characteristics of my mom, but I'm most like one of my brothers. He is tall. He uses hand gestures, mannerisms. The tone of our voice and certain words are like the exact same. He loves soccer. He loves the Great British Baking Show. Like we watch Friends all day. We are so similar. It's scary. And what's interesting is that who you are, like who and how you are, it's not just biological with family. Obviously, the social aspect with your friends is a big influence as well. When I was in 5th grade, do you remember your elementary best friend? Who was your element? What was their name? Isaac? You remember these people. In 5th grade, Jonathan Dillon was my best friend. We sort of looked alike. He had blonde hair, blue eyes. But I remember one day in math class, my teacher accidentally called me Jonathan, and I was like on cloud 9. I was like, I'm as cool. Thanks, teacher. Like, I'll keep failing your class, but if you think I'm as cool as Jonathan, like, by all means, I will take that any day. But as you grow up, obviously, you go through high school, college, post-education life, and even still, I find myself naturally being me, Pete, like in all my, however you fill in the blank, yep, I'm still me, but also having qualities that are influenced by the people that I'm around. Some chosen, some not. My question for you is this. What does all of that look like when it comes to faith? How do you and how do we arrive at a place spiritually where we are actually so similar, where we are almost give off pieces of who Jesus is? So that when people look at you, they don't say, oh, you remind me of your brother, you remind me of your parents, you remind me of this person, but they just look at you and say, there's something so unique and different about you, in a good way, that makes them want to know more about your choices and what influences you. Now, tonight we're in week 4 of this awesome series that I've been loving. I feel like I love every series that we do because I know the big ideas behind it is leading up to Engage. It's really cool. We're on week 4 of Responsible. The idea behind the play on words, response, in parentheses, able, is because when you and I take the life and the reality of who Jesus is, one, we are responsible to have a response to that. We're able to respond to it. And if we believe it, if we trust it, then we then have a responsibility to our friends, family, and strangers to live a certain way. If you've missed any of the past 3 weeks, as Robbie said, check out our YouTube. They're all there. We're live streaming right now. What's up? Probably my one grandma that's watching. I'll call you tomorrow. Happy early Mother's Day. But this week, we're looking at a really cool passage in the Bible. It's John 15, the book of John. It's the Gospel of John. John was one of Jesus' closest disciples. And in John 15, Jesus is talking to his disciples. And I need you to get this before we get into it. His disciples were not just people that he called out and that he chose. So far, with the disciples, having spent a lot of time with them, one of the most theological, one of the deepest, most spiritual, most faithful thing that these disciples did every single day that they could ever do is they actually chose to be close to Jesus. They chose that. They've chosen to spend their time with him. They've made that a priority. And knowing this, Jesus says this in John 15. He says, I am the true vine, and my Father, God, is the gardener. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes it so that it'll be even more fruitful. Now, you are already clean because of the word I've spoken to you. So remain in me as I also remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. Now, I'm going to leave this up on the screen real quick because each line is almost its own sermon. There is so much packed into it. So what I'm going to do, don't hate me, I'm going to reread all of that because you need to let the truth of this actually sink in, okay? Verse 1, Jesus says, I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes it so that it will be even more fruitful. You, however, you are already clean because of the word I've spoken to you. Now remain in me as I also remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. Now, one of my favorite aspects of this is how Jesus starts it with himself. He says, I am the true vine, and God is the gardener, right? I'm the vine, God's the gardener. I'm the vine, God's the gardener. But look how he revisits this section in verse 5. If we can put verse 5 up there. He starts out with, I'm the vine, God is the gardener. Verse 5, I'm the vine, then what? You are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. Jesus goes from God and I. He's talking about himself, God and I, God and I, God and I. And what does he bring to the table? You and me, you and me, you and me. This is one of my favorite I am statements solely because he is emphasizing the closeness and the relational importance of who he is in our life. Verse 5, I am the vine, you are the branches. Do we have any visual learners in the room? Yeah, like you can tell me how to make a PB&J if I don't see the 4 pounds of peanut butter and the 8 pounds of jelly necessary to make the I need to see it to be able, sorry, I'm hungry. Let's look at this picture of a vine that I found on an incredible thing. It's called Google. Don't know if you've heard of it. But if you look at it, it seems simple, but I want you to think about it, okay? The fruit. The Bible talks about us bearing fruit. Now, what that means is us growing, maturing, having relationships, wisdom, peace, patience, all the fruit of the Spirit, all that stuff. The fruit is directly attached to what? The branch, okay? The fruit is attached to us. We are the branch, as Jesus said. But this only happens if the branch is directly connected to the what? Vine. This is not a botany class, but we're talking about the Bible. Vine, fruit, branches. The vine, however, it isn't there if it weren't for who? Who? The gardener. The gardener plants the seed. The gardener provides a suitable environment for the vine to grow, and we are the branches of that. Now, I want you to think, what is Jesus getting at? You are very similar to the people in your family because you have grown up around them, whether you liked it or not. Physiologically and relationally, you're similar to friends because you've had shared experiences. Naturally, your friends are people with shared interests and things in common. But Jesus, once again, through this I am statement, talking about closeness, he's emphasizing the importance of staying so close to him and of choosing him over things, of choosing to stay close. And that's what I don't think a lot of teenagers understand these days. I know you're writing, but if you can really grasp this, a lot of the times in your life, if you feel stuck, you're not stuck. You're just unwilling to make a change. A lot of you have so much power to choose. May sound like a drastic example, but I'm so thankful. All of you are wearing clothes right now. Yeah? Why? I don't think, when I was going to say when I was 10. When I was 2, my mom would say, all right, Pete, time to get dressed. And she would pick out my clothes, not just last week. She would pick out my clothes and she would force my arms. She would put clothes on me, right? But it's so nonchalant, like you just don't think about it. Second nature, you put on your own clothes, you make that choice for yourself. You have the power of choice in your life, especially when it comes to spiritual decisions. Moments in your life where you're choosing to prioritize Jesus over social media, choosing to prioritize going to church over social functions, over certain things. You make those choices. You choose to stay close to Jesus, and that's what he is talking about. But again, if you picture the vine or the tree with its branches going out of it, the moment that a branch tries to detach itself or to do its own thing from that part of the trunk of the tree, it's free, right? It's not attached anymore. It's free in that it's on its own, but it's also helpless in that it's on its own. It's no longer a part of the vine. It no longer has that connection. A lot of us, I'm sure we felt disconnected from Jesus before. We felt far, we felt alone, and more often than not, it's not because God has left us hanging to dry. It's usually because of a choice that we've made to not be as close to him as we possibly could have been. We wonder, why did God leave me? Why is God not listening? Why is God doing all this stuff? But we don't really self-reflect on the decisions that we've made that may have placed that, that felt distance between us. I want you to look at verse 6. If you can put it on the screen. This is John 15:6. It says, if you do not remain in me, you are like a branch that is thrown away and withers. Now, God doesn't abandon you or cause you to feel withered and beaten down. We choose every single day, everything we do, from the words we say to the clothes we wear, to the music we listen to the things we watch. Not always the things we think, but the things that we attach onto. We choose the path that we naturally create distance from him. And what I love about this overall I am statement is that we may feel that way. We may feel far, but Jesus shows us that we are meant to stay close. Remember, he goes, I'm the vine, God's the gardener. I'm the vine, God's the gardener. To I'm the vine, you are the branches. I'm the vine, you are the branches. There's supposed to be that direct connection. We are meant to have a closeness with him. Now, I started talking tonight, asking you what you have in common with your family. And a lot of that dealing naturally with something that you have no control over, which is your DNA. That spiral thing that basically defines you and gives you every unique characteristic of you. The biggest thing about you that you have zero control over, which it blows my mind. But I want to read a verse that hopefully will encourage you because of how little you actually have to do with it, okay? This is Genesis 1:26-27. Some of you may have heard it before, but I want you to take it in this light. Then God said in the beginning, let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish and the sea and the birds in the sky, over the livestock and all the wild animals, and over all the creatures that move along the ground. So God created mankind in his own image. The image of God, he created them, male and female. He created them. You cannot help who your mom, dad, or siblings or cousins are. You have zero say in that. You also can't help the fact that God created you, everything about you, so that you could know him. You are made in his image. You are made with purpose. You were made to be close to him. You physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually were made to have a personal relationship with him. Now, something that I really want to sink in is this next slide, which is you cannot control the image you're made in, but you can control the image you believe in. And I want you to think about that. You cannot control the image you were made in. You cannot control what looks back at you in the mirror. You cannot control the things that are just natural with you. You cannot control so many things in your life. You can't control the image that God made you in, but you can control the one you believe in. And if you choose to believe that you were meant to know God, if that you were meant to have a relationship with him because of what he did with you on the cross, that changes the foundation of your identity. I don't think it was over quarantine, but it was right before March of last year happened. I watched this incredible, weird film called 3 Identical Strangers. Has anybody seen that? 3 Identical Strangers. I think I have a picture of it in ProPresenter. This is not something I'm like promoting, like, hey, go watch this, because I don't remember everything that's in it, so beware. But 3 Identical Strangers is an insane, crazy story of one day at college, this guy is just walking on campus and like, oh my gosh, it's Joey. Oh my gosh, it's Joey. And he's like, I'm Evan, what are you talking about? And basically, separated at birth, these 2 brothers were just, they found each other. They ended up going to the same college, and they were literal identical in every aspect, twins. And then a couple hours away, someone working, it's like he saw this incredible story in the newspaper, but when he showed the picture of the 2 twins, he saw himself. He was the third, basically 3 like triplets, complete identical, and then they found each other 20 years after living their life. And the moment they connected, they're like, oh my, how did we miss out on this? And there was one part of the interview to where they were talking, and one of the brothers starts getting emotional. He's like, I can't imagine living my whole life not being a part of something that I was made for. Like I have no control over it, but I was made for this. And what each of you need to know, you were made to be so close to Jesus that you were just right there with him all the time. Because he is never leaving you, ever leaving you, ever leaving you. You were made to know that. You were made to experience that. And he did everything he could to make sure that you had just a chance of knowing that and trusting that. And that's the beauty of what Jesus did for us. As he is the vine, we are the branches. If we choose to stay close to him, then we will not just benefit and have a better life. We will know our identity will have a foundation. We will know that we have a purpose. We know that we can trust him in everything that he says. So that's the message for tonight. I'm going to pray.